Looks like we are here. We have arrived. Welcome, dear friends. Welcome to our Anchored in Love member spotlight. And we get to share it today. How lucky are we, Angelica? We get to share it with our dear friend Nicole. I am absolutely in love with your mission, Nicole. Anything to do with empowering young people to live empowered lives, to be connected with their own desires, to be equipped with skills for life gets my absolute respect. So, welcome. It's lovely to see you here. It's lovely to share you with the wider circle of our friends here on LinkedIn. Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Such a pleasure. Do you want to share with us how did this love towards young people develop? Was it when you first became a mother that you discovered you wanted to work with young children? What it is about?
That was the icing on the cake for me, having my own kids. But I'm the youngest of four girls. And so I have been an aunt since I was 12.
Right.
And my love for children and my love to my nieces and nephews has always been thick. I was there for holidays and birthdays, and I was the aunt that it kind of annoyed my sister sometimes, where they'd be like, so because they call me Aunt Nikki, and I would get this really big running hug, and like it was just playtime. They knew that I was coming. And I remember when I was in my 20s when I was finally like, guys, I think I should sit at the adult table. Like, I think I need to have some conversation. And so I remember that switch, but it was conscious, like I was having adult issues. I needed some adult advice for myself. But I've always been thick in being playful in my own life and with my nieces and nephews, and making a point to show up for them and be with them. And, even through COVID, connecting with them. Now my nieces and nephews have their own children. And so we're trying to like navigate how that works without feeling like they're obligated to spend time. So coming up in the future, I'm going to see them. But it wasn't until, so I, additionally, when I was a police officer, many people think of being a police officer as you work the street. I did. I worked midnights. I worked, nobody called me to their house because good things were happening. But that wasn't really, I wasn't feeling really fulfilled there. And so I became part of the Community Services Bureau, which was connecting with kids all ages. So pre-K 3, 4. So like the preschoolers all the way to the 8th graders. And so I have all these certifications with regards to juvenile officer, juvenile resource officer, all of this knowledge. But when I got hurt at the police department, I kind of closed that chapter of my book and kind of set it aside. And then when I had my own children, and then they were getting to an age of going to school and things, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready. So then I started Girl Scouts. So those of you who don't know, it's kind of like Girl Guides. I'm not sure what you guys have in your country, but for us in the US, it's called Girl Scouts. And that was something that I was growing up. It was something that my mom was a part of for me. She was my leader. And then when I decided to start doing this, I invited her to do this with me. And so she and I did this alongside each other.
Right.
And then during COVID, I've tried several things. Like I still do other companies. I focused on nutrition for kids. I focused on, I just really like the playfulness of kids and seeing life through their lens. And that, to me, if I can see the life through their lens and have that understanding, which when I ask my nieces and nephews, like, what makes me so different and why do you connect with me, is because their feedback to me was I was able to see them. And so I just had the confidence that I've done this before, I can do this again. And then my second daughter went to school and she's like, well, you were that for my older sister. So you need to be it for mine too. And I was like, okay, I am really building my skills here. Right.
Right.
But honestly, it wasn't until till the girls, were both in Girl Scouts, and it had been about 3 years, that I went back to my old credentials and I opened that book that had been set aside for so long. And it was kind of like a gift. I broke open my old box and I was like, wow, okay, what can I do with this? Right. It was COVID. It was, how do we get these kids out of the house and not on a screen and all these things? So that's what I did. I just started taking them out into nature, out into just being outside. There was so much indoors, right?
Yes.
Having them, I know I've posted things about like how I taught them how to use a ladder. That was during COVID, how I taught them to use power tools, how I taught them to start. And I was like, oh my God, I really like this. Like, I really like doing this. And so I created the company. I said, what is it? I had these preteens, like, what do they need the most? They need, when they stop becoming waited on.
Yes.
Right. Like when we're handling every need that they need, and giving it to them, because we want to do that. But then how do we transition to them doing it for themselves? And this is like the question, like, how do I get my daughter to go, but like on the toilet, how do I empower her to go do that? Right. And then it started with that. And then it was, how do I get them to want to help me set up the holidays in our house, which we love? Well, what if I taught them how to work the ladder? Right. Yeah. I love doing that. But I also realized that we enjoy doing those two things together. And so I've been trying to take the lessons that I have with my own kids and how I grew up. I know, Katerina, you know that I get a lot of inspiration from both of my parents. My mom being willing to help me with Girl Scouts, right? She had to travel over an hour every single time. But then from my dad, the connection I had with his teaching style. His teaching style was, I'm going to teach you, you're going to do it. If you have questions, come ask me.
Right.
And I learned so much in those moments of, okay, he's going to teach me, I'm going to go practice. And then if I have questions, right? Because it allows them to make mistakes. It allows them to, allows us to be imperfect together.
Yes.
And so I will tell you just a quick story. I just had this cooking and baking class, and I had 5 amazing kids in that class. And the last day, we built up to the last day, had been 4 sessions, and we're making spaghetti. Okay. Not that hard, right? There's complicated parts, but putting the spaghetti into the pan is not what I would consider the hard thing.
Right.
But when we did that, the spaghetti went everywhere. It just, I don't know what, it like popped off the plate and just went everywhere. So, and we were using like an electric stove. And so that it started catching on fire. And so I'm like, okay, everybody remain calm. This is okay. Accidents happen. Trying to put out the fire calmly. I had one kid who was like running around because he was like, but we had covered that, right? Like we had talked about that. And so then in that moment of imperfection was the funniest, right? Because I'm like, that's not the hard part of cooking in the kitchen. But then we had cleanup. So many hidden lessons in being imperfect and allowing myself and them, right? And my willingness to just allow them to practice these skills, make mistakes together. This realization, yes, and this realization that like, oh, we don't have to know it all. We don't have to know it all, but to ask for help, right? And so, I teach them the skills, and then they hopefully create habits. Safe habits is what we try to encourage. Safe habits. Prepare for accidents, because accidents and mistakes happen all the time. And then they just create action. So like even in the mistakes, the action was to remain calm, take the spaghetti off the burners that were
Yes.
now starting to sizzle,
Yes.
evaluate the situation, but carry on. That's
Yes.
the thing with these
Yes.
kiddos. They're so afraid to make a mistake when
Mm.
they're practicing skills. But, and I know I use this reference a lot about putting in the reps. Our
Yes.
kids need reps. So,
Exactly.
like, whether you're teaching in the kitchen or you're changing a tire, which I have a very important passion about changing a tire. It's something my dad taught me.
Yes. Yes.
And on the day we celebrated his death, guess what I had on my car? A
Puncture.
flat tire.
Right. Oh.
Um, these are things that we can build small successes. And I say easy, attainable wins. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yes.
Easy, attainable wins in order to create the reps, right?
Mhm.
To
Mhm.
give these kiddos the reps of being imperfect
Yes.
so they can build the muscle of taking action, whatever the next action needs to be in that moment.
It sounds like a lot of fun. We can see how passionate you are about it. And this is for boys and girls, right? It isn't
Yeah.
just for girls. So it's for teenagers, for that
Yep.
wonderful age of just becoming capable to do things by yourself and to be encouraged to actually do them, to practice them. It is amazing. I'm going to invite you to please share the link with us to your community because I know you run a very fun and successful group where you share all of these things or as much as possible online as well,
Yep.
so that you can empower even more kids. Would you be sharing that link with us? And I also invite anyone who hasn't connected with Nicole to look her up on LinkedIn and become part of our community, because inside our community we have all so many wonderful leaders, and none more powerful than this. I think that empowering kids just is the ticket for happiness in life, in every area of our life. What do you think, Angelica? How do you feel about this subject?
Yeah, well, I follow Nicola more than a year now, and she's a true leader. And what I love most is her way to create, to take actions, and is like a really like a walk through with the teenagers, with her children. So yeah, it's beautiful. Most of the time we think that we need to do something specific, and but actually uh, she just show you how you can create so many things from the daily action taken.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just being present there in the
Powerful.
moment.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. And I love this idea of that we do not have to be perfect in order to achieve something and to do something. We just have to be willing. We just have to be willing to do it, be willing to play the game, be willing to participate in life. Because if we wait to be perfect, we will always be thinking, I'm not good enough. And that really is not
Yeah.
fair place to be for kids or for adults. So check yourself. If you have young kids, check yourself before you think like that, before you think, oh, this isn't perfect enough for me to show up, and rather just follow Nicole's example. I can see that you had something to add to this.
Yeah, it's just the idea that, I do have a Facebook group for parents, for support, for creative solutions. And for me, as Katerina, she in her community, is that together we are truly stronger. And if we can take, even in different countries, we are not in the same country. I'm in Illinois in the US, and you guys are in the UK, but we can still connect on a level of this understanding within the four walls of our home, and the connection to our kids and our teenagers, because they are our future, and they don't have to suffer the pain that we did
Absolutely.
with trying to be perfect.
Hmm.
And even as parents, I am certainly not perfect, and I am perfectly imperfect, and I am wonderfully weird, just as these teenagers are, right? Because really,
Yes.
underneath it all, we're all human, and
Yes.
we are all trying to do the best we can.
Mm. we like to share, we like to contribute, and we like to invite everyone to participate in this joy, because only happiness is the only thing that is multiplied by sharing. The more you give away, the more it comes back to you. And no perfection is required. If we waited for perfection, we would never have started this group. We would never have shared these deep friendships that we have, that absolutely erase the physical distance that exists between us. We don't feel it. We don't feel it. We have such deep connection and friendships, and we know that one day we will translate that into actually coming together and celebrating that in the same place. Well, thank you for coming here today and allowing us to shine the light of Anchored in Love on you, because your work is really important, and your passion is crucial to making that work a success for those children that you impact their lives, for the parents that you empower in the right way, and no doubt for you and your family as well. Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you all for tuning in. Let us know in the comments, how did this land with you, and do connect with our friend Nicole. We will be back with you on Friday. Stay tuned in. Bye bye for now.